So the NFL draft is just around the corner. We have about 2.5 weeks until draft day as we're recording this, and some really interesting storylines have emerged recently. For example, the Jets locked in on David Bailey when everybody thought they were going after Arvell Reese. Jeremiyah Love, no lower than 3 on teams' draft boards, yet there are talks he could fall out of the top 10. McCoy is the top cornerback. There's a lot going on, a lot of information that's been released within the last 24 hours. And we're going to cover that. We're going to get to it. But before we go anywhere, Tanner and I are going to talk about the number 1 pick in the draft. Last year, Cam Ward was called the least discussed number 1 pick of all time. I think we have to put Fernando Mendoza in that conversation. The only conversations that he's been a part of have been Indiana and Heisman and things like, and even calling his Heisman fake. Like, look, he would never have stacked up against the previous winners. We're not talking about Mendoza. We're not talking about the Raiders. We're not talking about his NFL future. And what makes this all so interesting is, as we know, the Raiders traded for Kirk Cousins, which begs a very interesting question. Is it going to be a little bit of time before we actually see Mendoza start his first NFL game?
Yeah, I mean, if I was the Las Vegas Raiders, and I posted a video, I don't want to toot my own horn here, but I did post a video like a couple months back. I said, Kirk Cousins is going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And people were like, no, bring back Derek Carr. Bring back Derek Carr. He knows the system. Like, he's got ties, he's got ties to the Raiders, all this stuff. That was dumb. So I said Kirk Cousins was going to go there. Now, the craziest thing that came out of the Kirk Cousins news was the contract. Like, it was a 5-year, $180 million deal over 5 years, where it's like 1 year it's guaranteed, then there's like a player option. It's like a player option every year, like a 2-year player option or something for $80 million. I don't know the exact deal, but that was crazy, by the way. I think Kirk Cousins should be the starting quarterback for a long time there. Like, as long as you can go. If Mendoza doesn't step foot on the field this year, I don't think it's a terrible thing for the Las Vegas Raiders. And if you can go 9-8 potentially with Kirk Cousins as your quarterback, I would take that in a heartbeat. Let Mendoza learn and then go with him. And if you're going to go with him this year, I think it should be the final third of the season. I don't think it should be week 6, because at that point, what's the point? Like, start in week 1 if you're going to start in week 6. Wait till the end of the season.
So there were reports probably very close to after the Raiders got the first pick in the draft. So we're going back a few months now that had indicated that the Raiders were going to show some willingness to letting Mendoza sit for a year and letting him develop behind, a reputable veteran sort of NFL quarterback, whoever that might be. I don't even remember where Kenny Pickett is these days. Yeah, there was the Derek Carr conversation, which we skipped over, by the way. The fact that Derek Carr said he'd be willing to come out of retirement for a Super Bowl team and not one team called him. We never got information about that. That's kind of funny. That's not a story that's talked about enough. But I look at some of the quarterbacks in the NFL out there, and, we do have the great recent rookies, right? CJ Stroud had the great rookie year, although he's regressed a little bit. We know what Joe Burrow is. We know Jaden Daniels and Drake May and Caleb Williams. But you also have cases of, Lamar Jackson did get to sit. Jordan Love did get to sit. Patrick Mahomes did get to sit. Josh Allen didn't sit. Or yeah, he did, as a matter of fact, right? Was he behind Tyrod early on? I can't remember now.
He was.
I got to look that up, because I can't remember if Tyrod left right when they got Josh Allen or not. He played 12 games as a rookie, so he did sit behind Tyrod for like a month of the season, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and the biggest example of this, if you go back to Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, he played in 1 football game, right? Yeah, no, we had 1. He started 1 game. Like, that's what people need to base this off of. Go back to Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, see he started 1 football game. And the Chiefs still made the playoffs that year without him playing quarterback. So that's one thing to know. You're not going to maybe make the change when you're in a playoff race. But if Patrick Mahomes started 1 game as a rookie, Tom Brady, I know he was a different case, but he was a late round draft pick, but he didn't play as a rookie. Like, why do we rush these quarterbacks on the field? You're going to hopefully have them for 12 to 15 years.
So I looked it up, and it wasn't Tyrod Taylor. You got 4 games of Nathan Peterman that year, and you got 2 out of Derek Anderson, of all people. So yeah, I think Tyrod had moved on at that point, but still, to the point of, yes, you don't really play your rookie quarterbacks, or a lot of teams have not played their rookie quarterbacks right out the gate, and it's worked out for them. And the Brady connection, I do feel, is especially important because, to your point, he played in one game as a rookie, and it's Tom Brady. Like, we're talking about maybe the smartest quarterback ever. And if there's one guy who has just evaluated the NFL from being in the league for 47 years and then going into the broadcasting booth, talking to coaches, talking to GMs, talking to players, he has seen what it's like. And he knows what is and what is not conducive to a quarterback's success and fulfilling their potential. So if he looks at this Raiders roster, a Raiders team that was just bad enough to get the first pick in the draft, let's not act like he's going to a great situation. Clint Kubiak's going to make some changes. Yes, they were active in free agency, but even still, that's so many moving parts. You're trying to forge an identity. It's just a lot of unknowns and a lot of things that haven't been built yet. So do you want to take a quarterback who really burst onto the scene with one great year? Yes, he showed flashes in his last year at Cal, but one great year under his belt and say, hey, go save the franchise? Might be the smart thing. Just let Kirk Cousins rock out for a couple of months, even a full season.
Yeah, of course. I mean, because there's no rush. Like, you got these guys for so long, you're investing a lot of money in them long term. And I know you lose a year on the contract, and it is what it is. You can get it. You're going to get a 5-year deal for these guys, so you still get them for 4 years before they, before they hit free agency. But a lot of times with these quarterbacks, you're not going to let your franchise quarterback hit free agency. You're going to get the deal done in that second year, probably, if they are showing promise and potential. Again, Kirk Cousins is good enough to win football games. He's good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL still right now. I know things didn't go his way in Atlanta, but Atlanta still signed him originally with the intent, I guess, based on the money of him being their quarterback for a decent amount of time there. And now that's kind of faded out. So Kirk Cousins still good enough to play. He's still good enough to start. He's also the perfect guy in the sense of he knows his role. When Fernando Mendoza takes the job, he is going to play that role as the backup. And I think he had some experience doing that, obviously, in Atlanta with Michael Penix Jr. So I think it's the perfect signing for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Also, just from a personality standpoint, both very humble, down-to-earth sorts of guys, very, very, very vested in their faith and their religion. It's just he's mid-30s, late 30s, so he's been around the block. He knows how to watch film, and he knows how to be in a locker room and take notes in meetings. He just checks all of the boxes for someone you would want to be this particular quarterback's mentor.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 37 years old. He knows he's on his way out, and he's had a lot of success, and he's the second or third overall in most money ever in the NFL. Yeah,
so. I think he passes Brady this year. I can't remember if it's Brady or someone else like Peyton Manning, but yeah, he's about to pass one of the greatest players ever in career earnings.
And he's probably going to stick around a while. Like, I can't imagine the Raiders picking up his deal on the back end of this contract or after the first year, because it is a lot of money. But, if they get in a situation where they have to, because Mendoza had like an ACL injury or something, they probably would, and he can make even more. But I think Kirk Cousins is going to bounce around a little bit to a bunch of different places in the last 3-4 years of his career after this, and play, 1 year stints as a backup, making $10 million a year.
Yeah. Joe Flacco arc.
Yeah. Joe Flacco arc. Is Flacco signed a deal, right?
Where is Flacco these days?
I think he signed a 1-year deal somewhere.
Is he with the Bengals still?
I think he signed a 1-year deal with the Bengals.
I think he's back in Cincy. Yep.
Joe Flacco contract, 1 year, $6 million deal. That is crazy.
Bag chaser. Give him he still played all right.
You know what, though? For a guy like Joe Flacco, I imagine his kids are older. How old are his kids? Let's see. This is what you got to look up.
He's what, 40, 41? So
he's 41. How old are his kids?
He's got some high schoolers, I'm sure.
So yeah, he's got some high schoolers. He probably they're old enough where he can probably live in Cincinnati during the season, and the family flies to see the games on the weekends. You don't have to uproot your family. You're just making another $6 million a year. You get more health insurance for a little longer. Like, it's a good deal for him. I mean, they're not like it's like 3-4 year olds where you got to be around. Obviously you want to be around your kids the whole time. I'm not saying that, but you're not uprooting your family for a year-long contract in Cincinnati. They're probably living in Baltimore or wherever they were living.
Some other stories from the NFL draft, didn't mention it, but David Bailey, supposedly over the last 24 hours, we've heard the Jets looked like completely locked in on Arvell Reese, but now apparently they might be going after David Bailey. I don't know, just generally Are we at that time of year where everything goes out the window and teams just start sending smoke screens left, right, and center?
Yeah, for sure. And for the Jets, like they have bigger issues than if they're selecting Arvell Reese or David Bailey. I think David Bailey is a great pick. Reese, obviously, a generational pick too. But I mean, you got Geno Smith as your quarterback right now, and they're confident in that. So it doesn't matter who they take. I think Aaron Glenn's out of a job. So if I was Arvell Reese, I'd probably be happy David Bailey was going number 2 overall because I wouldn't want to go to the Jets.
I mean, what's his name? Aaron Glenn said that Geno Smith is the guy to lead them back to the promised land. Like
he's not.
You got to get, but you have to get fired off of that quote eventually. Like you can't say something like that and then go 4-13 or whatever they're going to go this year.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can say it. You
can't say it. He doesn't believe that. He does not believe that.
But you can't say like, yeah, I think he's a really good bridge quarterback before we get Arch Manning next year. Like you can't say that either. But like I think Geno's a great quarterback. I think he's exactly what we need. Veteran presence on this roster, somebody who I think can win a lot of games in the NFL. And he's shown that, obviously. I wouldn't say lead us back to the promised land, though. We're talking like Joe Namath Super Bowls if we're saying promised land.
Yeah, I agree. I think he stepped too far. Jeremiyah Love, I was listening to Todd McShay yesterday, and he said from all the teams that he's spoken to, nobody has him lower than 3 on their draft board. I don't think he's going in the top 3 personally. And there's been a huge movement of running backs, not that they don't matter, but positional. Speaking from the perspective of positional value, you can't take one that high up. I don't know. What do you think about him?
Well, obviously the one that makes sense now that the Chiefs, got their running back is the Titans at 4. I always believe the Chiefs would not trade up necessarily, but I think the Chiefs were going to make a push for a running back, and who knows, maybe they would trade up, but not anymore. Jeremiyah Love, though, I think he goes to Tennessee. That's kind of where every mock draft has him projected to go. I hate to draft a running back 4th overall, though, and Jeremiyah Love's a generational talent. He could be a Bijan Robinson or a Saquon Barkley, but he kind of has to be. And the thing is, like, if you're Tennessee, you don't have a lot. Like, you get decent defense at times. Like, you don't have a great offense. Like, you don't have offense. Like, I don't think you're in a position to draft a running back. I think you need to support the quarterback that you drafted, knowing this is a passing league.
The last one, which I did tease at the beginning. And by the way, if you guys are enjoying, make sure you do leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, all that great stuff. Throw your thoughts in the comments below. The last one, which could really shake things up, is if Jermon McCoy is actually cornerback 1, because everybody's been talking about Mansour Delane, and he was the best cornerback in college football last year. But Jermon McCoy in 24 might have been better than Delane. Is coming off of a torn ACL, but he ran like a 4.35 or something at his pro day. So he clearly looks healthy. I just think if I'm looking at this, like the Michael Penix Jr. thing at 8th, that shook up the whole draft. That's where everybody's like, oh, crap. And then you had 6 quarterbacks going in the top 12. Things that could shake this draft up for me are if McCoy goes before Delane, and then also I think how many offensive tackles do you get early on? Because when you get to when you get through the top 8, really, you could have no tackles taken in the top 8, or you could have, for example, Francis Mawanoa goes to the Giants or the Cardinals, and then you could have Monroe Freeling to the Browns, and then maybe you get Spencer Fano to the Chiefs. So like 0 to 3 tackles in the top 8, I feel like is on the board, or the top 9.
I think the tackles are going to come off the board in that second half, like the 20 and up, or the final third of the draft. It's really hard because this is a year where offensive linemen are very limited. Like there's not a lot of great offensive linemen, but teams need offensive linemen. And the difference between, maybe guys who are getting drafted in the first round in a normal year, they may be a 3rd round pick, like who knows? But there's not a lot of them out there, and a lot of teams need them, even though the talent in the class is not super high. So guys' draft picks are good. Draft stock is going to go up just off the fact that teams need them, and there's not a lot of good offensive linemen.